of the market.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Right, because you can't do it just by lowering price.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I mean, there's some of the market that will unlock, but the rich part of the market where you're really going to get sunk in and when you're going to get high margin business because you're really valuable to the company and you're not going anywhere for 4, 5, 6 years, that's because you really understood how to solve a big problem they've got that they care about at the C-suite. That's, to me, the issue you've got to focus on during diligence. Because all of management will say the right things. That's irrelevant. What you need is to have somebody that understands the market enough to say, show me the investments you're making. Show me your product plan. How does that back up your plan and intentions about how to grow in these respective market segments?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. What would be your the key risks to a business like telematics? I mean, you talked about the OEMs and also the mobile side of it, and you kind of indicated that those were not kind of ultimately key issues. But what are the kind of key risks or threats to a business like telematics?
Sure. So that there's a couple of key ones. One is business, one is technology. The business is ancillary companies that offer fleet leasing and things of that nature where telematics is not their core business, but where they're going to come in and offer you telematics at such a low price point that to an uneducated consumer, your product looks like a huge premium and they really aren't interested in getting educated as to why they should buy yours versus the other one that's so cheap. Right? Whether it's included by lease plan, Alcar, there's a bunch of different companies doing that. And actually that's a bigger problem in Europe than it is in the U.S., where you've got people out there with 6 and 10 euros a month for a telematics solution, where the Verizons of the world are still charging, 15, 18 euros.
Yeah, you mentioned LeasePlan. We had understood that is a customer of the telematics, TomTom Telematics, but a bit
Sure.
Unclear. We don't have much detail. But how does that work then? If you say that they have their own, would they use telematics from TomTom?
They could, but they could use telematics by anybody else as well. So unless they have an exclusive agreement with TomTom, they're just because that's happening here stateside as well. You've got companies like Element and Wheels and ARI that all realize that their market's changing because it used to be they provided low-cost capital, and now they don't provide low-cost capital, or they do, but everybody can get low-cost capital. So now they're all trying to transform into being more full-fledged companies that also track your fleet and also maintain your fleet. And they're basically borrowing your watch to tell you what time it is because they want to know more about how your drivers drive so they can more effectively sell to you. So they tell you they're selling you telematics for you, but the use case they're really solving for is how to understand how your drivers drive so they can sell better to you. And most customers simply don't understand that. They can OEM that from multiple players. They can drive to the lowest price, or they can choose to pick somebody and say, we're going to white label that solution, like it's happening stateside with a company called Geotab very frequently. Now, if TomTom has become that player, then that's a good way for TomTom to grow. I don't know enough about what relationships they have and how exclusive those relationships are and or how profitable those relationships are.
But that is a good thing to check when we meet the CEO. How they work with LeasePlan, and is that just white labeling, or are they the exclusive provider? That type of. Okay, so that was one. Any other?
How long and what costs are they offloading? Right. So is LeasePlan doing first line of support, or is TomTom still doing it? And if so, they've just given up a lot of the revenue stream, but they still have the same cost structure.
Yeah.
Right. The second thing is unsurprising that you've heard of, which is autonomous driving, right, and platooning, which is more likely that the first real hit on that, which is one guy driving a truck It's 5 trucks behind him, but no driver in the 5 trucks. They're just following him or her. And the ability to do that changes the dynamic, right? Because all of telematics is about trying to change driving behavior to help the company. And if the person is no longer making decisions about how that vehicle drives, then the issue of stopping them from doing harsh cornering, harsh braking, harsh acceleration, speeding, and in any way driving in ways that are going to be increasing to your risk or decreasing to your fuel efficiency kind of get extricated out of a management to driver conversation and instead infused into the compute technology behind the vehicle. As that starts to happen, the telematics dynamic behind that will change, because you won't be looking to solve that problem with telematics. You'll be looking to solve different problems with telematics. That's going to require different investments, and the people that haven't kind of made that shift are going to find they get left behind like buggy whip makers.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That understood. Any other risks that you see?
The other one is folks that, like the other thing I keep hearing is, TomTom's coming to the States, TomTom's coming to the States, TomTom's here. I got to tell you, I'm on the board of a telematics company here. I never see TomTom, right? And I'm in small deals, I'm in large deals. So when you decide you're going to go into a new market, going into that market and having some strength behind you, having the penetration, having the momentum, having the ability, that's not such an easy thing. And that's where, again, I'd come down to this market is all about management execution. It's about people that know how to do sales and marketing, go into new markets, do well, and be effective. What's going to be the strategy they're going to use to do that? Are they going to continue to use third parties as their principal selling strategy? Are they going to look to deploy their own selling teams? Right? How will that change their mix and their margin makeup? Right? What's their plan as they go into these new markets? Those are the questions that I think you really want to sit down and press the management team on, because as they try to tell you everything else and then they kind of fudge and we're going to grow into these markets, I would really lock down how are you going to grow into those markets? What's going to be your go-to-market strategy? What makes you believe that go-to-market strategy is going to be effective, and why should we believe you can execute on that? What functional requirements do you need to go into those markets, and where is that on your product plan to ensure you've got the right capabilities so that you don't have the same issue that a Fleetmatics had going into Benelux and falling short until we had the right product suite?
Yeah. What is your experience?
The kind of stuff you're looking for?
Yeah, very helpful. No, absolutely. I mean, equally, are we asking the right questions? If you think we should be asking different questions or not going in the right direction, then feel free to provide different information. But I think another topic I wanted to ask you is on churn. What is, in your experience, the kind of typical churn that these telematics businesses experience?
So it really varies, and it really varies based on who's trying to gouge customers and who's innovating, right? Trimble, for example, bought AtRoad back in 2008, 2009, and they immediately stopped innovating, right? And all of a sudden, 3 years later when their contracts came up, a lot of their customers went, well, why am I still using this company? The software doesn't do anything I need it to do anymore. It doesn't even relate to my organization because I've reorganized twice. And so the reports I'm getting are for teams of people that aren't even on my team anymore. And that's because Trimble said, I have your money. As long as you can't leave, I'm not going to spend much time with you. And that was their standard M&A strategy, right? Well, take a look at what FleetCor did with Masternaut, right? They brought it in. They brought a pretty good company that had a pretty rich piece of functionality. And then they immediately did a brain drain on it, said, we're not going to do any of the innovative things we used to do. We're going to cut your commission. So all the good salespeople left, a bunch of the good engineers left because they weren't going to get to work on the cool projects anymore. And the next thing you know, they were writing off a big chunk of the investment. M&A in this space is notoriously deceptively difficult. You need to know what business you're in. You need to know what investments you're making in that